99% of people have no idea what they're doing when it comes to running an agency, and that might scare you, but it's true. When you think about it, in the agency space, 99% of people get 1% of the results, and 1% of the people get the majority of the results. To people to get advice from to run an agency, why on earth would you listen to anybody that isn't part of that 1%? If there's everybody out there that has an idea about how to run an agency, why would you even listen to the people that are on Instagram or on Discord or YouTube, like this video now even, of, you could be watching another person that claims to run an SMMA agency but makes all their money from running a course. It doesn't make any sense. You need to sort after the top 1% in the industry and go after them and find out exactly what they're doing, how they think, what their thought patterns are, their paradigm, see how they would handle different situations. That is who you need to go after. If you think about it, in 100 people, let's say, if the agency space was 100 people, it is physically impossible for all of them to be winning. Only one person out of those 100 would truly be getting the results that you are thinking of. The people that you listen and you look up to may only be making 10,000 a month, but the people that you want to be listening to, most of the people that you look up to in the agency space have no idea what they are doing. They are completely headless chickens, and their advice is incorrect. When you look at it, in any industry, 1% of real estate agents get 99% of the results. This shows that in any industry, 1% are winning and the 99% are just getting by. When you look out onto social media and you see people talking, or people that you talk to on Discord or Instagram, your friends that also run SMMA agencies, in comparison to the 1%, they have no idea what they are talking about. Where you want to go to get your advice is that 1%, and anything else you should completely disregard. You'll find most often that the 1% is doing the complete opposite to what the 99% are doing. So why on earth would you even consider listening to what the 99% are doing? Heck, forget about the 1%, go after the 0.01%. There is no point doing anything but that, because you can only apply one piece of advice at once. So why not go after the people that are in the top 0.01%? If you're watching a YouTuber who makes all of their money from a YouTube channel and none of it through the agency that they claim to own, then there's no point. Why would you listen to them? You need to go after the people that are actually doing what they say they do and are getting the results. The biggest problem now on YouTube is that you look at all these agency owners who claim to be successful, to be having a consistent run rate of above 10k per month, but their advice is completely awful. And you think about the advice that a 10k per month agency owner would be giving, and you look at their channel and you measure it against, does this actually make sense? And you critically think it through. And it doesn't. Why? Because they've never properly run an agency that can sustain 10k a month. Sure, they can make 10k a month, but that may only be for 1 month. What you want to do is you want to listen to the people that are even making 100,000, a million a month. There's millions of people to listen to online, and people are stuck listening to thousands of them. What you need to do is you need to find maybe 10 or even 5 agency owners who you know are doing what they say they do and are actually getting the results that they say they do, and listen to them. If you're listening to, let's say, maybe there's 1,000 agency owners out there in this space that I'm talking about here, only a certain percentage of them are actually going to be successful in terms of you can split them all up and then you can rank them in order, and then you listen to anyone that isn't in the top 1% of whatever you want to do. It's completely ludicrous to try and listen to everybody. If you want to get there in the quickest period of time possible, just listen to the 1%. You are only going to get the needle-moving pieces of advice from the 1% anyway. And if you're listening to 1,000 people, 1% of 1,000 is 10, right? So if you're listening to 1,000 people, then the 10 people in there are actually going to give you the advice that will move the needle in your own agency when applied. So you're literally wasting your time paying attention to the 990 people that are left. When you remove the 10 of the top 1% in this 1,000 bubble of agency owners that I'm talking about here, it doesn't make any sense to go after any advice from the 990. It would just be a waste of time when you can listen to the 10 people. Don't get me wrong, if there's even an agency owner that's making 1,000 a month and you're making 0, you can get solid advice from the person that's making 1,000. He's ahead of you. He may know something that you don't that's going to be the quick fix, or maybe the flaw that you're not seeing, or the bottleneck that you're currently experiencing that you're blind to, that can open that up for you and then get your revenue to match his to 1,000 a month. Sure, that is fine, you can do that. But what I'm saying is that in the same amount of time that it would take for you to speak to them or listen to them and truly understand what they're saying and then apply it to yourself, you could have done the same with someone that's in the top 1%. I'm not saying that all the agency content creators out there may not have something of value to say, but what I am saying is that if you could spend your time listening to the overall population of agency owners, why would you do anything but listen to the 1% when you're just wasting your time on everybody else? The reason why I'm saying this is because it's something that I got caught up on. I started watching all of these agency owners who had never actually run an agency before, have still not run an agency, therefore their outdated advice from 2021 is no longer applicable today, because strategies and stuff like this shift over time, which people that have never run an agency before would never understand this, that strategies and the most effective tactic available, the meta, shifts over time, right? It's just like a video game. What worked in 2021 on Fortnite doesn't work now. Let's put this in Fortnite terms for some of you people. It doesn't work 100% of the time forever. That is not a guaranteed. For example, SMS, cold outreach, right now is the meta. You will have better returns by putting your time, money, and attention into doing doesn't work. It's not to say that cold DM doesn't work, but what it is to say is that if you're going to put your limited time, attention, and resources, you only have as much time, you have only as much money as in your bank account, you only have as much time in a day as anybody else, and you only have as much attention as you can spend doing it with your split attention across multiple things. Whatever you have left is what you have left to go towards outreach. If you're going to pick an outreach method, don't do all three. Do the one that makes the most sense at that time, that is the most effective. Pick cold SMS or pick cold outreach using email if that's what you're best at. But for the majority of people, they're going to get the best results by doing cold SMS right now on the 15th of March, 15th of April 2024. That's where you're going to get your best results. So if you're listening to an agency owner right now who's saying cold calling is the best because it's going to allow you to develop sales skills, why on earth are you listening to them? They're giving you outdated tactics. And that's not that these tactics don't work now, it's that they aren't the most effective now. So they are still stuck in 2021. You are literally listening to outdated stuff. It's like eating an outdated yogurt. Why would you do it? It doesn't make any sense. Sure, it's still yogurt. You're going to probably be fine if you eat it. But why not go for the freshest stuff if you have the same amount of money? It's like going to a supermarket and choosing to buy a yogurt that is out of date when there's one that is in date for the exact same price. It doesn't make any sense. And this develops my point here that some agency owners don't run an agency, or if they did, it was, 2021, 2019 even. You probably know who I'm talking about when I'm talking about 2019, and you're taking advice from them. You are then applying it, and it doesn't work. Why? Because it worked in 2019, what did you expect? Another problem is listening to people like Iman Gadzhi, and I don't want to bash on anybody here, that's not who I am in these videos. I don't want to, bash people, but this isn't a bash on Iman Gadzhi as a person, it's a bash on the culture and the side effect of him having 4.5 million subscribers has caused, right? An unintentional cause has happened by him being this big, and that is him giving 4.5 million people the same script, the same cold calling, like sales tactics, right? It isn't working anymore because everybody is doing it. The same business owner has been called 100 times by teenagers wanting to pitch them their social media management services like they haven't been pitched that before, and it's not working, and they're wondering why. That's because on the same day before you called, they received 100 calls along the exact same lines. What you need to do is you need to find the people that are winning right now, and out of the people that are winning right now, the top 1%, and then you need to listen to them, and when they say jump, you ask how high. You go all the way. Every single bit of advice that they give, you need to execute on, rather than listening to the thousands of people and it's just a drone. Everyone is just yapping now in terms of what to do and do this, do that, and none of it works because everybody's doing it. Who would have thought? If everybody's doing it, it isn't going to give you an edge. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but, if you're doing something that the 99% of people are doing, you don't have an edge. But the people that have an edge are the people that are winning right now. And to win long term, you always need to be ahead of the curve and always keep your edge, because edges lose their effectiveness over time. If you don't keep your edge up to date, you won't be succeeding in 9 months from now. You may succeed now, sure, fair enough, but if you don't get the updated edge in 9 months from now, the bank balance is going to dry up. In terms of finding a system for an edge that is working now, and potentially even into the future, you need to start with the overall pool of people that you're listening to. Basically, bottle it down to the top 5 to 10 agency owners in the world who are creating content or are private. You could outreach to them, you could ask them, but you need to find who the top 5 to 10 agency owners in the top 1% of agency owners in the world that you can get in contact with will help, but that will still probably be in the hundreds. So if you go to the 0.1%, 0.001%, that is the top 1% of the 1% of people that you can realistically get in contact with. You either need to find their social media and consume every single piece of content they've ever produced, or get into contact with them personally and try to set up some form of mentorship, right? That would get you into the ringer of agency owners who are winning right now. By doing this, you cannot fail, because you're getting the updated, most relevant advice for 2024, whereas the people that are part of the thousands are still running methods from Sam Ovens and Alex Becker and even Iman Gadzhi back in 2019 in 2024, and like we said before, they don't work. It is going to be like finding a needle in a haystack, but that's exactly what you're doing here. You're going to have to be innovative. I can't even say the word, but you're going to have to use your brain to get access to these people, and once you do, it will be worth it. So it's worth spending time doing it, as in investing time into doing this may seem like you're not going to get a return, but well, if it does, it will massively pay off. You will know the exact strategies to be using now. They'll be the most updated, latest and greatest methods, and you can't go far wrong if you do that. The problem with following thousands of people on Instagram that are all agency owners is that everybody's going to have conflicting opinions, conflicting beliefs, and your mind is going to be a mess. It's going to be all over the place. You are adopting the beliefs, the thought patterns, the paradigms of thousands of different people and shoving them together, or trying to shove them together. Your brain, as it would be the most effective way to do that, but just as a human being, you are limited by your ability to even comprehend the thousands of other people's brains and then try and merge them into one. You would have best results if you did that, because you're accumulating the entire marketplace, but you can't do that, as in you can't process that many people at once. You could probably only process and consume and really digest and internalize, as in it becomes part of you and your identity and how you speak and how you think and your thought patterns. So instead, what you need to do is pick 10 people and only go with them, and only laser focus on everything. Stalk them, find every single Instagram account that they have, request, follow, find their Twitters, find their backup Twitters, follow the people that they're following, read the books that they're reading, watch the people that they're watching, find out their friends even, and follow them as well if they're around them. And on Instagram, they may be in their posts and stuff like that, their friends. So I'm saying, if you find person A and person B as their friend, and you want to absorb the characteristics and everything of person A, it would make sense to follow the person B who is their friend, who person A may appear in their stories or in their posts or in their videos even. It makes sense to do that. Basically, find the 10 people, isolate each person individually, and surround yourself around them, as weird as that sounds, in terms of every way you can, whether that's in person, whether that's on social media, whether that's through their friends, whether that's through the books they read. But you can only do this with 10 people at once, and now that I say it and I think about it properly, you can really probably only do this with 5 people, or even 1 person at a time. I'm probably doing this with about 4 people now at once. I can think of off the top of my head of people that I'm trying to really learn from at this stage of my life to develop, right? I can't do it with more people, and in a year from now, it won't be those people, because I've learned everything I have to learn, and it will be moving on to the next people. And over decades, the brilliant part about this is that maybe after a decade, if you only do 10 people per year, you'll have absorbed 100 people in the top 1% of the 1%. And the reason why we're doing the 1% is because we don't want to waste our time. We have limited attention, we have limited money, we have limited energy. We want to, with our limited resources, pay attention to the top of the top. because the top of the top get the results anyway. Even if we had unlimited time in the world, we would still be wanting to pay attention with them. But we're all going to die, and that means that even more of an urgency to pay attention to the 1% of the 1%. So if you do this for maybe a decade and you stack up this invaluable knowledge compared to just shotgunning, it's like having a sniper over a shotgun, right? You're being precise and you are aiming and you are getting the target from a long distance. You're shooting far out. These people are far away. They have big results. You are out of reach. They are out of your orbit, but you are shooting for it. And you can't shoot for many people at once. You have to shoot for a small select group of people and then embody them. But completely surrounding them in terms of every way that you can. Is there any more ways that I haven't thought of, apart from books and stuff like that? Podcasts even, maybe even finding out where, like, as far as what their religion is, right? As crazy as that sounds, you could, if you wanted to, but surrounding them on all fronts, really. As in, if they are a square, being an even bigger square around them. So you're surrounding them, and there's no little gaps in between. You've completely created a wall around them, and there's no way to escape. And just slowly bring the wall in, and you will learn everything about them. And when the wall can no longer go any further in, there's no more juice to squeeze from the apple. And in this analogy, the apple being the knowledge, and the squeeze being the knowledge that you gain, it's time to find new people, right? And in terms of the people that you look up to and the influences that you have, that's the best way of doing it. And in terms of the friends that you do as well, if friends aren't contributing to your growth, not necessarily in the world of business, if you've got a friend that's like funny and stuff like that, then you're becoming a more charismatic and funny person by spending time around them. And this is quite like a Machiavellian point of view, but you don't need much, right? It doesn't take much for someone to, every time you leave them, be a better person than when you first went there. Even if you are becoming, don't worry, I will apply this to what we're talking about here in terms of how we're applying this to who we pay attention to online. But in terms of friends, you wouldn't spend time with people, at least I hope you wouldn't, that if you came away with, you went worse off than you were with before. And that's the same with people that you watch online. There are some people online that if you pay attention to, that are agency owners, you will physically come away worse. Not because they intended for you to come away worse, but if they don't run an agency and their methods are outdated and they don't fully get what they are talking about, then you are going to come away misinformed. And therefore, just because you don't realize you're coming away worse doesn't mean that you're not. Just because it doesn't feel like your time is wasted doesn't mean your time isn't actually being wasted by paying attention to what they have to say. It is being wasted. If you're paying attention to people that are doing outdated methods and aren't doing the most updated methods, you could be paying attention to someone that is. So bigger picture, you're wasting your time, but maybe in that moment you necessarily haven't. Like, it's better than watching, I don't know, just random reels on TikTok. Like, reels can be helpful if they're business related, but I'm talking about like random Taylor Swift and puppy reels. Like, it's better than that. But if you could and you can control your time and who you pay attention to, on YouTube it's just one swipe and they're off. You should be choosing to pay attention to people that are in the top 1% of the 1%. What my point with by saying that is that it's your choice, right? You choose who to listen to. This isn't something that just happens to you. You can choose to pay attention to the 1% of the 1%. It doesn't matter who they are, their skin color or how tall they are or their gender or blah, 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 right? Whatever stuff that want to be categorized as these days. If they have an edge, if they're getting results in 2024 now, above 10k a month, and are actually doing what they claim to be doing, that is all that matters. Apart from that, ignore them.